p.m. Pacific. Check out therundownlive.com. Mike P. Kristan H. The Rundown, Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Check out therundownlive.com.
What up, guys? We're live here. It is Friday, February the 28th, live here on the Rundown Live, rundownlive.com. Mike Pachesney, Kristan Harris, and we've reached another Friday. The weeks just come and go. Another rundown, it seems to be here, and came and went and gone and came, and here we are, episode 200 and something. And we actually do have a guest tonight. We're going to be joined with Richard Gabriel from the Giza Foundation, right, Kristan?
Yeah, the founder of the Giza Foundation will be talking about ancient pyramids tonight, and ancient relics and artifacts, and just history in general. So
we do that around here.
Hang
sometimes.
in there, yeah. We like to really dive into some people who really have their hands dirty per se, or involved in the dirt, or actually on spot.
One with the dirt, as Kristan is trying to say. Kristan,
what? One with the dirt? What is that?
Yes, one with the dirt. That means you are one with the earth.
Does it make you a dirty one?
Well, I guess. I mean, not in a bad way, anyway. I mean, because some people are going to be like, oh my God, they're talking crap. Like, no, one with the earth. But anyway, I'm trying to
Mike our time.
I'm trying to fix my volume here, and it's giving me issues. I got to use my little keyboard. There we go.
Sure. Well, I might as well start out by saying that if you guys haven't had a chance to yet, make sure that you guys head on down to therundownlive.com.
We do have this website, right? I forgot about that.
And on this website, we have a bunch of fantastic information for you. We have some of the latest in news and articles, news and tech, science, and even up-to-date politics. We try to stay on the edge locally and nationally, and even on world events. So it's very knowledgeable. Stop by there. You can actually get access to all our apps there, including Amazon.com app,
you all right
iTunes
over
app.
There?
Yeah, no, I'm having problems.
You're forgetting about we got the iTunes, Amazon, Droid, all of it.
We got the Google Play Store app.
Just
here.
take a
Sorry
breath, bro.
that.
Sometimes you just gotta be like, regroup, Kristan. Just get it together. We're all right here. Here we go.
Yeah, no, you gotta rush into things, and then everyone understands that. But like you mentioned, the play apps for your cell phone are one of the better ways of getting a hold of us and listening to our shows. You can actually listen to past episodes on there. If you guys are interested in supporting what we do here at the Rundown Live, make sure you guys click on the privateinternetaccess.com banner there. Once you do, it'll take you to their site where they describe how they offer ultimate privacy in the internet and online. So you can basically search the internet, look at your bank statements, download, and even avoid things like Reddit bans and video game bans. So if you're a gamer out there, it's not a bad deal. $39.95 covers 5 computers. Mike and I use it, and it's very beneficial here. Sorry about that, man. Yeah, I fell off my chair there for a second there, Mike. I don't know what's going on.
It's all right. Sometimes
it's the ADHD. I have horrible ADHD, and I've been tired.
It reminds me of
bags under my eyes.
It reminds me of the woman that was on the air, the newscaster who started she was giving the report live on the air, but yet she was talking and nobody could understand what the hell she's talking about. She was blah, 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 saying half words.
Are you saying nobody knows what I was talking about?
Well, I just wanted to make sure before that happened, we just did the woosah, woosah.
Was it like
and bring it back in? Bring it back in.
Talks like this throughout the whole thing.
Yes, it makes it makes it. Oh, geez. By the way, we did mention Richard Gabriel. We do have to get him on here in a minute. But yes, you guys, if you want to help us out on the site, you can donate via PayPal. Sign up for a monthly subscription. All your donations help out the show. We're not trying to get rich. We're trying to make the show better, get better equipment, get stuff for you guys, stickers, T-shirts, all that kind of stuff. And who knows what else we could do? You know what I mean?
Well, and that's pretty interesting. You can listen to us as well on TuneIn and on Stitcher. Both fantastic platforms. We recommend you use them if you have the chance. But the best way, again, is the Rundown Live app right on your cell phone. Go get it. It's free on the Google Play Store, iTunes Store, and Amazon Store. And share it.
We also have the couple new articles up there, license plate readers, and one on Monsanto and the genetically modified babies that we've been talking about the last couple days. Our friends over at US
GMO
News
babies.
Ghost. US News Ghost, we got to give them a plug because they have been writing awesome articles, helping us out. So definitely check out those articles.
He's done a good
US
job,
News
man.
Ghost, right.
Yep.
So that being said, we're going to bring on Richard Gabriel. Why don't you kind of introduce Richard a little bit while we're bringing him on, Kristan? I know he's with the Giza Foundation. He does awesome work with the pyramids. So what do you know about this guy?
Well, basically, he's a founder of the Giza Pyramid Foundation, and from my understanding, he's had over like 20 years of experience with these pyramids. He's visited the site many times. I believe that he's on the brink of finding some amazing discoveries there, dealing with ancient history, and that may change the outlook on ancient history. And he actually is a friend of ours in mutual with Bruce Fenton there. We had Bruce Fenton on. We talked a little bit about the Giants and his find over there with what he believes to be the lost city of the gods there. So it was very interesting, quality conversation all around. And I think Richard Gabriel has a lot to say. Hey, Richard, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Kristen. Can you hear me okay?
Sure can. We can hear you great.
We have you loud and clear. It's good to have you on, Richard. We're just giving you a little brief introduction. How you doing? It's early morning there, right? It's like 3 a.m. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's getting close to that. It's fine. I'm okay. I splashed cold water on my face before I started, so I'm okay. I'm good to go.
Well, we definitely appreciate the time, and we always like to get into ancient history because we tackle a lot of subjects that are more taboo. They say, they're not necessarily the things that you're going to see on the mainstream media. We're not always covering aliens and stuff, but we get into ancient history and what's going on, and the pyramids specifically. What are some of these technologies that developed here? What were these people? Was the story true? 20 years, were they really built this way? So why don't you kind of introduce yourself, what kind of work you do, and what led you to the pyramids, and then we'll get into some of the cool stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Incidentally, what you just described there, it was a perfect description for us trying to break out of all the conditioning and stuff that we've been had shoved down our throats all our lives and throughout our history. But okay, we'll leave that to one side.
Well, there is a lot of propaganda out there, is there not?
Well, the propaganda is our entire education and education of our history up to this point. It doesn't give the full picture, but it's for each to make their own mind up. There's enough evidence out there of what's going on because of the internet. So, it's for anybody to find. It's for anybody to join in with and to awaken to. But first of all, I'm going to preempt and say to your good selves, thank you for the privilege. And also to the listeners, I got to say apologies to you as well, because if I sound like somebody that's on speed, it's because I've got a hell of a lot to cram in a short time. So I'm going like a racehorse at the moment.
It was the coffee over there. It's a UK coffee, right?
It could well be. So anyway, look, people do ask me, where does it all come from with us? We didn't step out of a university or a fancy school or anything. For me and my twin flame, Judith, who lives in the States, I live in the UK, as twin flames, my start really goes back beyond my 63 years, where Judith and I made a pact together to come back into this life and to go a good number of years, getting rid of a few karmic debts and a bit of rubbish in our lives, to come together again and to fulfill some stuff if we've got time left, if we've learned enough to go ahead and do it. Everything I speak about, I speak in the first person singular, but hey, it's for everybody to make their own mind up. So although I speak in the first person singular, as anybody's listening to me and as I rattle through a few of these things, the information's out there. Anything I speak about now, I back up with great detail, along with Judith on the websites. On our main website, you can get the other two websites and the book that I've written about it. So that's all I'll say about that, but it's just to preempt all the rest of the stuff that I'm talking about. I'll skim over it. You can get the detail if you want to go into it from the website, richardgabriel.info. So, for me, that translated in childhood to a childhood where I guess I was regarded all through it as pretty weird. I had to bear that and come to terms with it. it meant that I had a childhood where I had to go through all the mundane stuff that everybody has to go through, but at the same time I was carrying this thing in my head of trying to understand why it was that I was having so many, what I know now to be lots of out-of-body experiences, precognitive experiences. I used to get didactic poetry come into my head and all sorts of things, precognitions and all manner, the whole gamut of stuff all through childhood. And my childhood really was a journey of trying to come to terms with it all, going forward in very distinct stages. At each stage, something would happen that would put me on a track to the next stage. I went to a development circle for 3 years, for instance, spiritual development circle, and there were other things that happened throughout my childhood, which are in the book. Take us 6 hours to go through that now, which I'm not going to. But it culminated, I suppose, in one massive change in direction, where it was coming out for me, I guess. In '82, I was working in Berlin in Germany, and I had a massive experience where in an overnight session, I use the description of it being like the Total Recall movie with Schwarzenegger. I had a total recall, but it was my own memory being returned to me, where suddenly I had this thing in my head, an understanding, if you like, of the nature of the matrix, the nature of vibration, and how everything is formed from vibration, or vibrationary states.
You know,
and how
Edward Lee Skullman talked a lot about that. Have you ever heard of Edward Lee Skullman?
The name does ring a bell.
He built Coral Castle in 3 years down in Florida. I just thought I had to mention because a lot of people tie his technology into what they were doing or what they did with the pyramids in ancient Giza. So, and he believed they used magnetic current to move a lot of the rocks weightlessly. So it's very interesting.
Well, and then these experiences you're speaking about, just to kind of, reiterate, it's definitely interesting growing up because the way, children are bombarded with all this external forces, whether it be Wi-Fi, internet, TV, all these things, it's very strange because, what happened to like the psychic children and the children that used to be able to pick up, waves? I forgot what they used to call them, but there's definitely some interesting thing there. I'm definitely one that believes that you can pick up waves from other places and be one with the universe and things like that. Not necessarily read your mind literally, but in a sense, almost that, because we are maybe one in an organism sense as the universe, because we don't even know where the hell we are. So it's definitely interesting, the upbringing, it seems to be a part of what led you here. So what led you to the Egypt research with the Giza Foundation and the pyramids? How did all this stuff get involved?
Okay, well, I'll take you to that in just a second. I will like to follow on a comment from what you're saying. I mean, as you just described it now, I go with everything that you say, but we tend to talk about it in an objective way. It is still objective when it should be subjective. You only need one single example in the whole of the planet to carry the argument. The mother who knows of her son who's been killed in the war at the moment it happens. I pause there. It's a simple little analogy, but it happens. The dog or the animal that knows from miles away that something's happened to the owner. These sort of connections, these vibrationary connections, distance in vibrationary terms, that there is no such thing as distance. There is instantaneous recognition there to be found by all of us at all times, anywhere, any place. It's just simply a matter of us awakening to these abilities to be able to tap into them. It's not that we're finding something that's strange. It's that we have lost the ability through our conditioned experiences. To the victor goes the spoils. In history and in our understanding, the victors were the ones who control the knowledge of what's really going on and what's really happening behind the scenes, and that includes the Giza Plateau, which I guess is a very quick and rapid lead into the Giza Plateau. So fascination from childhood with places like Tibet, like ancient Japan, and in particular with Egypt and other places. But Egypt, that was the place that I was drawn to. I dreamt about it. I had out-of-body experiences that took me there through childhood and up into adulthood. And then finally came time to visit. But at the same time, again, through incredible synchronicity, Judith and I came together again in this life to conjoin our experience and go forward. Now, Judith and I find that when we're together, without even putting any effort to it, things happen. Strange things happen. They happen for us where we go. The people that come before us, the strangers that come to us and lead us and take us somewhere. I started at the beginning by saying that we didn't come from university. What I'm trying to say is that we actually come on an intuitive path. It's a spiritual intuitive path that has no mystery to it, to us anyway. We totally understand how it works, why we're here, that it is part of a continuation process where this life is just the blink of an eye in an existence that goes way beyond the physical. That's the real world. This is just a temporary phase that we go through, a temporary part of it. So we came together and we started our journey actually in Egypt. And that's when the sparks, so to speak, started to fly. We visited the Western Desert to start with. We became friends with the Coptic monks and we started to make discoveries out there. There were things that we noticed that at the time, perhaps we didn't put in the right place, but like pieces of a jigsaw, we put them in our pocket and then later they all started to fit together. And they all, those and others that I'll mention in a moment, all for us cemented the knowingness, the gnosis, I suppose you could call it, that we've always had, that our civilization as we know it really was a follow-on to a previous, in their own way, more advanced civilization. Now, okay, I got to reel the story forward here, and I know I'm skipping so much in this, but, you know, there's a common theory or understanding by some that there was a more advanced earlier civilization that had forewarning of their demise. One can go back to the legend of Atlantis, Lemurian Mew, and so on and so on and so on and so on. But the story is that they had forewarning. They sought to take themselves to parts of the world, across the world, scattered to where they thought they could survive what was to come, 10,500 years plus ago, right, for the last time round. And they went underground into airlocked cities, which are evident, we know, all around the world, Turkey and God knows how many places around the world that house tens of thousands of people. They can do, including Giza and Egypt. And they sought to escape what was to come. So there was the deluge and the catastrophe, swilled tens and tens of meters of yards of silt. They emerged eventually with some of their culture retained into a primeval world to them, having all the jungle having been washed away, starting to build with the materials that were to hand, which was mud brick, plus some of the stonework from their ancient home that was smashed to pieces, God knows how many years previously. Now, where we come in is that I'm leaping way forward in the story now. We were guided to the Giza Plateau. We were guided through lots of things that took us in contact with, from the desert, the 200 feet level finds of water levels that go back to that time. We were taken to the King's Chamber in the pyramid, where we conducted a successful an out-of-body experience using the resonance of the chamber. We believe that that was a technique that was used back then in former times, where there were buildings and places that were constructed to a particular resonance that assisted a person physiologically to aid them to be able to go out of body and to be able to interact and travel. As the Moody Blues say, thinking's the best way to travel. Well, that's as close as I can get to what I'm talking about. The King's Chamber experiment proved that for us, and I talk about that at great length on the site. Then our journey took us to the village, Nazlet El Saman, where we just happened to be next door to house number 13. There it popped up for me again. I was born 13th minute, 13th hour, Friday, 13th October, 1950. We were next door to house 13. It's followed me all through my life. 6 men there killed, allegedly murdered. We have our own view on that. They were digging down. They were in the vicinity of stuff that we know from GPR results that we have seen from our good friend Bill Brown. that show something below ground there, which perhaps it would be prudent for me not to go into huge detail on open air about, but there's an artifact below ground there that it was believed, we think that it was believed that those guys were trying to get to, but they lost their lives in horrendous circumstances and never got justice in their deaths afterwards. It leaves a bitter taste in our mouths because we know so much about it.
Richard, I was going to say, before we get into like what they were going after, because you mentioned a lot of awesome things. First of all, you mentioned being in the King's Chamber and having the out-of-body experience. That's definitely interesting to me. That's not something we talk about a lot, but there's definitely a lot of people that are doing things like that now in isolation chambers where they have float tanks and they actually float in the water. And that seems to be like something that we've always done, but here it is coming back in a more futuristic society.
Doesn't it have something to do with the way that the pyramids line up with the solstice as well, where you'll be able to project to? I've heard that as well. It's connecting with their former planets.
Well, yeah, Kristen, I've got to say that I believe that the GP was a multitask construction, its original form. I think that this is just one of the abilities it has. It had multi functions through its different phases. And I believe that as we see it now is only part of, is one of the construction phases that it ended up as. But as far as the King's Chamber itself is concerned, you know, when we conducted that experiment with Howard Middleton Jones and others, as I lay in the coffer there and went through the procedure to quickly go to alpha and try for out of body, I'd found previously, as a kid, it was a party trick that I could intone a certain sound that in certain places would set it off ringing, like the volume would increase without you having to increase the volume from your voice. It was almost like the sound was folding back on itself and increasing. Weird effect, as I say, it was always a party piece. And lots of funny stories along the way. But when got to the King's Chamber, I found, and since I've had it measured, that this tone is able to hit the frequencies of the King's Chamber and set the whole thing off. So I'm in the coffer, I'm sounding off. In former times, it might have been others that were assisting this process, so that the person themselves didn't have to actually do it. But in the chamber, I found a difference from previous times in inducing out of body. I liken, if I'm trying to explain the technique, it is like being, imagine you're standing upright in a glass tank, and imagine that the warm water, body temperature water, is filling the tank and it's creeping up the body, but the water is actually anesthetic, and as it creeps up the body, it anesthetizes the body, and you're withdrawing yourself up as the water level creeps up you. Now that's a normal way to think of what's happening to your body as you're withdrawing to project out, go out of the body. In the coffer, it was different, because as I was laying there in a very short space of time, first of all, the sound, the volume of the sound in there, I thought my eardrums were going to pop. It was so powerful. But then it got to a pitch where it seemed to even out, and I found not this sort of creeping water effect. I felt as if from my feet upwards, I felt as if it was crystallizing. I felt this crystallizing effect. No pain or anything, but I definitely felt this crystalline effect coming up through the body. Now, we were disturbed by the guards with machine guns, and we were actually got out of there at the point of guns. It was interrupted before we could complete fully. But I believe that out of body, there are things that people can find in and around the pyramids out of body, and it was purposely hidden that way.
Are you saying you snuck into the pyramids?
No.
That's like an epic thing. That's like better than sneaking into like a rock.
There was no admission there. What are you talking about?
No, in this case, we were given special dispensation to be in there. It was arranged for us to be in there. The group of us that were going on this little mission, this experimental, and despite the fact that we were given permission, apparently the sound was booming down out through the gallery, the grand gallery, and down outside, and causing a bit of consternation outside the pyramid. And it scared the bejeebers out of the guards, and they came up inside, running up through, and eventually got to us up the top. I mean, I was completely disorientated. Judith was my protector, if you like, to bring me out of it. and both of us got completely disorientated because the session was broken while it was in, and that can be quite dangerous. But we'd prearranged things between us so that she could bring me back safely.
But you can definitely safely say, you're saying here that you had an experience there, that, you know, it wasn't something made up. You experienced something.
Absolutely.
And it's not like anybody can just walk in there, you know what I mean? So
No.
I mean, it's definitely interesting. And I do have to mention, we're at the bottom of the hour, so we're moving into the second half of the show, and you know, we're talking about some interesting things here. You mentioned that, you know, that ancient history aspect where there may have been a civilization that went underground and tried to avert some type of catastrophe, whatever it may have been, you know, whether it was the Ice Age, a comet, who knows, you know.
Does that mean that these tie into the other pyramids around the world? Because they're very
They
similar.
are discovering a lot more. That's definitely something we
yeah.
could talk about. I just wanted to kind of segue into, you know,
Yep.
what's actually going on here and kind of the second part of what we had planned.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. You've got to ask the question at the front of all this. Why is it that the Audit Trail back to our past is closed by the authorities and has been for years and years and years? Well, people automatically say they're trying to stop robbers and all the rest getting at the artifacts. No siree. What they're trying to stop people getting to is the technology that's there, that's hidden. That's what they're trying to stop. And the Audit Trail, as soon as an Audit Trail, another one is found, then it's closed down. If I take us to NC2, which is North Cliff 2, tunnel entrance at the back end of the plateau, and again, it's a story on its own how we ended up there. But I've been down there for hours and days, and the time I've spent down there is huge. It's a blocked off place, I'll say that, but who said there's only ever one way to get into a place? Okay, I'll say no more than that. I've been in there with Judith as well, and we've got lots and lots of evidence. Haven't touched a thing, but we gathered tons and tons of evidence that proves a few things. First of all, it proves that the authorities have been in there and raked the system out. Raked loads and loads of artifacts, of sarcophagi, and all sorts of things have been taken out of there and vanished. You haven't even heard a story anywhere. You won't, right? Again, it's all part of closing down the Audit Trail, in our belief. Then down at the bottom of the tunnel system, as it is at the moment, about 350 feet down below, you come to what we've called a tube tunnel. And this is mentioned in the memoirs, a couple hundred years old, Visey and others. And I'm tripping over my own thoughts now because I'm trying to force it all in. Now, this tube tunnel, this is supposed to lead down into the deep underground where the prize is to be found, if you like. Now, we're not far from a deep tectonic rift that's known to cut across the plateau there, across the corner where the solar boat is, where the Japanese have found another solar boat, which I'll come back to in a moment if I've got time. But at that 350 feet depth where the tube tunnel is, crawling into that, and I've got photographic evidence in here, I came to a blockage that wasn't there before. The blockage I was able to evidence had been done from the bottom up. That's significant. Therefore, there had to be another way down for it to have been blocked from the bottom up. Now, we believe that that is from the second solar boat. In fact, we've got somebody who's been in there and who confirmed to us, without me telling the story as to why I was asking the question, who said, yes, there was a way being found from within that pit, which wasn't shown on the great media splurge of, when the Japanese were showing the second solar boat that was being excavated there. But in any event, down there, from the photographs I took, and this is really coming to the crux of where we are at the moment, we've taken thousands of photographs down there, and high definition photographs. And in analyzing these photographs, quite by accident, I found that although the rock surfaces and the odd places you can see just a little bit that there may be an image here or something there, something here, but when you digitally analyze these in a particular way, you find, just like the magic eye pictures, suddenly the whole surface lights up with these incredible tableaus, images, not just single images, although there are those, but incredibly complex pageants and tableaus of people involved with things. There is machinery, there are houses, there are animals, jungle scenes, predominantly jungle scenes everywhere. There are pyramids shown on the walls. There are strange pillars with energy coming from the top of them. There are flying objects, and I'm giving this live now. You've got it first. flying objects that we have. There are what look like men in spacesuits climbing up like rock surfaces in these images. These are three-dimensional images where it appears as if you're looking through the ripples of water into the depths of sea or lake or whatever, and seeing mammals and other creatures that are extinct now. This goes on and on. The walls are absolutely covered with these images. We haven't even scratched the surface. But in order to share these with our peers and stand the test of our peers, these need to be photographed with highly sophisticated camera equipment under ideal lighting conditions in order to really do the job on them. Now, that's another story as to whether we can get down for that. But here's the little twist to it. If we go back to this theory about people surviving, we being the descendants of our ancestors, then if that was true, then the ability that they had then, the cultural ability that they had then to record their history, their life in pictorial form rather than written form, bearing in mind, brackets, that down in NC2 we have found Ogam script, which is being translated and which refers to the underground and stuff that's down there. Big headline. Let's go back. If all this is true, then it would be fair to say that as they scattered to find their places of safety, they would take that cultural ability with them. If that's true, then it should be possible to examine other rock surfaces and other so-called sacred sites, ancient sites, to see if there's something on those. Lo and behold, our friends in Australia and in other places have sent us photographs. We've trawled the web for photographs of sites all over the world. And to date, we've got over 30 world sites where these same generic images and tableaus and scenes are depicted. It proves the point. They are there. We've published on the website the technique, how you do this digital analysis. And we throw the challenge out to anybody out there. To hell with all this nonsense, this egoistic nonsense of closed shop. You can't do, you haven't gone to university or whatever. Bugger. Sorry, I've sworn. Forget all that, right? What I'm saying is, there's a technique. We put the challenge out. We lay it, we strip ourselves and it bare. It's there. We know it works. We know it's true. And we're saying to the world and anybody listening out there, go to the site and read it. If you've got a mind to it, if you've got a rocket up behind you, then go for it yourself. Start trawling around your area. In the States, there are hundreds of sites of ancient ruins and underground chambers where the surfaces are more protected, where there are rock surfaces. Go take your photographs. Don't take your photographs of scenes of pretty flowers and things. Go out there and photograph the rock surfaces themselves. Take them home, put them through the digital analysis, and find these darned records yourself. They're all over the world, I'm telling you.
That's very interesting. So how are these records hidden? Are they much like the Klaus Don I want to find, where he found them where they kind of glow in the black light? And he's wondering, how did they have the technology to only see something in the, the black light back then?
Kristen, I've got to tell you this, my friend. We don't know for sure how in hell they managed to apply these pictures. The reason you can't see them with your naked eye, they're if they're that old, 1,000, they've got to have been affected by time. They're on rock surfaces that have got a strong color. That color blinds you to whatever else there is there. Now, when you do put it under digital analysis and use the color frequency filters in order to filter through the color spectrum, you find that when you knock the slider to a different color frequency, it brings out another depth, another level of what's on. If there's something in the surface, it brings that out. You move it perhaps through green to blue or whatever, to yellow or red or whatever. As you move it through, you'll find perhaps that it'll bring out another level where the first one fades away and you can see the other. Now, I decided at a very early stage when I first started looking at these, I've rejected as many as I've accepted into my own book, into my own investigation files. For me, even though I see something, for me to accept one into my investigation file, it's got to meet certain criteria. It's got to be a coherent picture that makes sense across it, that I can't just see one thing, that I'm not just seeing something in the pattern of the rock, that I can actually see something that's verifiable across the surface. that it makes sense, that it isn't just something that looks close to something, that it's something that is obvious, and it's self-verifying across the whole surface or within the environment, that if one rock surface has got it, it's got to continue around that site, so that you're able to prove to yourself that at least you're setting some criteria for yourself at this stage. The real proof of it will be across the world when people with better equipment than we've been using, and what we will intend to use ourselves as we go on with this, go out there to target the surfaces to the dimensions and everything that we've suggested might be the best way to do it, and take pictures themselves and find the darn things. That's all we're asking. It's out there. We believe there are walls of record all around the world, and our ancestry and their story is waiting there to be extracted.
And then it's just definitely very interesting. I mean, the things you spoke about, how they may have had like spacemen and all kinds of stuff on the wall. It definitely has to be looked into. I definitely am interested to check some of this stuff out. And I mean, I'm kind of sold on the aspect that there was an ancient civilization and something occurred. So if they were really advanced, they may have had the ability to do something like this. And who's to say, okay, when you paint something on a wall or a canvas, with digital analysis these days, you can do, like Richard's explaining, check out different levels of the paintings and the pictures. Even Da Vinci paintings are made that way, where they're layers within layers of different, paintings within one object. So it's very interesting to me what we have going on here.
There's a lot of evidence as well that they were a lot more advanced at one time than we are today. We've spoken about concrete 3 times better than anything we have seen today, or how you had to use molten rock to shape, was that puka poo or something? I forgot what it is. I forgot how to say it, but they have like those cement blocks. Yeah.
Well, there's lots of the 90-degree angles, machine cut stone. I mean, we could go on and on about the examples. I mean, focusing on the Egypt here with the pyramid and Giza. I mean, this is very interesting. And you're suggesting that there's a whole underground system here, or there was at one point, right?
Yeah, I think it's still there. And picking up on the energy thing that you've just been mentioning, Kristen, I mean, our energy, our whole dependence these days depends upon destroying matter in order to give us energy. Back then, they didn't destroy matter. They used natural energy. I said at the beginning that they were more advanced in their own way. I think they far outstripped us, but they used natural energy. They used ley energy, energy of the earth, energy of the sun, cosmic energy. They were able to use it. They were able to use energy beyond quantum, from beyond quantum. The latest research, as I'm sure you're aware of, talking about dark matter that makes up most of the universe, most of us, most of everything. This blank area, or blank to us at the moment, because we don't understand it in our present condition. But that area is that multiverse dimensional area from which we're talking about scalar energy. You all know about that now, don't we? And HARP and other things, the other types of energy that is being kept sort of off the radar to normal people. All this belongs to that time, and it's a bit of reverse engineering from what they've managed to find out. I think they're hell-bent on getting to it, but I think that there's one safeguard that they built into it, because where these guys then understood earth energies, I believe that they were able to manipulate energy at a vibrational level to create, if you like, enclaves where the energy levels were permanently affected, so that just like if somebody went to Fukushima without a radiation suit, they'd get zapped. Well, I think there are areas like the Giza Plateau, or deep under the Giza Plateau, where if you are not of a vibration yourself that is able to sustain the energy, there's a change of energy takes place when you go down underground there. You go deep underground, you can feel, you can taste it. It's why the guys there, the locals, they're scared witless to go near the place, to go anywhere underground, because they know that there's something different happens. You feel something different. And we're of the firm belief and understanding, just as with the King's Chamber experiment and the techniques that were behind that, that where our ancestors were able, as a matter of normality, to function and operate into and beyond these levels, they used these levels to protect areas like whatever they have left behind under the Giza Plateau. We talk about halls of records, repositories where they left all the good stuff, all the technology, the gatherings of it. We're doing it now with seeds and things and seed banks. They did it then. Why wouldn't they? Of course they would.
Data centers, yeah, right. All the stuff we're doing now.
They did it then, and I believe that their abilities in that area led to them concealing things that could be got at by those who are of a vibration where they would not be harmed by going into those areas. And inherently, if you are of, if you like, a lighter vibration or a higher vibration, and I don't want to say that in a lofty way, I'm no different from anybody else. It's just a matter of the distance you walk down the road and the experiences you picked up along the way. It don't make one person better than the other. It just is a matter of your experience or what you've gone through. And I'm saying that by our own understanding, that if you are of a vibrationary level that can sustain these higher vibrationary areas, then by its same quality, it means that you are a person who is not of a base, bad, I hate to tag it like that, of a lower vibration that would be one of the baddies. In other words, only a goodie could do it. Only a goodie could get to it. It's built into the natural balance of the system. And just the same way, going out of body and using somewhere like the King's Chamber and other chambers and other places all around the world that were built that help to physiologically assist a person to go out of body, that those that can do that are those that are able to go to alpha, to raise their vibration to that level. And I have to emphasize again, I in no way think that makes a person better than anybody else. It's just a matter of the distance you've traveled, that's all. And I think that there's stuff down there that they still haven't got. You wouldn't be seeing guys killed on the plateau, lose their lives on the plateau. Oops. Yeah. And there are
suggesting that they're killing people out there?
Sorry?
Suggesting that they're killing people on the plateau there?
Far be it for me to say such a thing. Rip it from my tongue. Yeah, there are things that are worth protecting there, and they do, with a supreme paranoia or apparent paranoia that always links back to protection of antiquities.
I have to sidetrack. I know this may not be your expertise, Richard, but when you look at all these secret societies and the symbolism they use, and it ties back to Egyptology and the same symbols you find,
ISIS,
and all these pyramid symbols and things, it almost makes me wonder as if this is the secrets that they're aware of that they're keeping, secret. It's just very strange to me that this subject is used so secretly, like with the secret groups, and like you mentioned, they don't want anyone anywhere near this preserved site, and only certain individuals are allowed in, and like you mentioned, the experiences and the energy and so many things maybe underneath the pyramids. People talking about, was it an energy source, a power plant? It could have been all these things. We really have to get to the bottom of it.
That's
these wall murals you're speaking of, this is going to be interesting. I appreciate you even breaking this news with us, and I'm sure when we get more evidence, we'll be able to share
photos,
it with people and
Mike,
put it out there.
I'm going to give you one little story, Mike. I'll try to see if I can slip it in. I know the time's running out.
No problem. I was going to give you the floor here. We have about 5 minutes left. I want to make sure people check out your website, and go ahead. You're good to go.
Okay then, listen, there's one site we went to, the Solar Cross, and it's a difficult place to get to for a start, to get past guards and all the rest of it. We've got good friends, we've got good contacts who appear to us. People on the plateau just appear to us and say, "I've got something to show you. You've arrived." We don't know who they are. They just appear to us. So anyway, the door opened for us to be able to go visiting. And it's a very ancient place with very, very deep shafts that go way down in, and people don't know about it really. And it's off to the side of the plateau. Anyway, we were told we wouldn't get past the watchman who'd been there for decades, living in a hut there, a wizened Egyptian little man. And the guys that were with us, who, all I'll say is they wore uniforms, okay? And they were friends. and they asked us Judith and I, to wait down the hill while they went to speak to the watchman. And we could see arms flailing and voices being raised, and he was sounding off crazy. Nobody could come up. Anyway, things calmed down after a few minutes. Eventually, after a good long while, we were allowed to come up. The horses had to stay at the bottom. Anyway, the air was a little bit frosty, and we were sort of signaled, you can go over to the main shaft over there and meditate. We've been given permission. Well, I didn't want to meditate. I wanted to talk. I wanted to explore, and Judith also. But anyway, Judith, we sort of read each other, and she gave me a little just sort of secret signal and said, I'll go over there. And okay, so she went over to this very large opening and sat to the side there just to sort of take in the scene and meditate a little bit, while I looked, a bit nonchalantly around, and I thought, no, I'm sorry, I can't waste this opportunity. And the one of the two guys that was with us guidance had wandered off. The other one was still there. He was English Arab speaking, and I went over just boldly over to him and interrupted them. And I asked him in a very respectful way. I asked my friend to translate for me. Said, I apologize for bothering him at this place. Thank you for the privilege and all the usual things. And I said, I would be grateful if he would be willing to share any of his knowledge. So it broke the ice. He started talking. There was translation backwards and forwards. And the conversation got deeper and deeper. By now, Judith joined across. And we were going through this translation process, getting ever deeper about stuff on the plateau. And I guess as I was revealing to him our knowledge, that we knew about this, we're pointing, we knew about that over there, and we knew about that there, and we've been under there, and we've been through there, and seen down there, we've gone underground, and on and on and on and on. Clearly it was putting him to rest. He was feeling more comfortable. And I thought, and in my mind, I was whining to it. I wanted to ask about the deep underground. And it got to a point we'd already discussed, and he had confirmed where we had suspected and been down part where tunnel systems ran underneath and ran out from the plateau and out further out into the desert and so on, onto Saqqara and so on. And I finally got to it, and I thought, I want to ask. And I said to my friend, I said, look, I've got something to ask him. I said, but I'm going to have to try and explain it to you so you can put it into your own words. And I went into a long-winded sort of explanation to say about the tunnel system underground and about NC2, and that we understood, we had heard from others, that there were those who were still underground. That was the crunch question. I wanted to see his reaction.
You mean alive, right? You meant alive.
Do you think that's where some of these... Yeah, you think where some of these hollow Earth theories come from? Because they think there's maps of these underground cities? Is that what they really meant?
I mean, the trouble is, you see, when you use the word hollow Earth, I'm sure that most people get the idea in their head of like a tennis ball with nothing in it, No, if we want to evolve a description of hollow Earth, then sure, there are vast areas hacked out underground that house tens of thousands of people. That's a
whole other episode, Richard.
Yes,
we got it. We can do an hour on that one too.
Let's tie back to this. Let's just finish this little story off. So I asked the question, and the guy who was translating for me, he was taking. I said, "Do you understand what I want you to ask him?" And he was looking a little bit furrowed brow. And I said, "Please ask him." And he went jib 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 in Arabic to him. He only started into the first couple of sentences. And the other guy was going with his hands, waving, stop, 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 stop with the hands. And he spoke back to him in Arabic. The guy who was translated for me, his jaw dropped to the ground and bounced back again. And I said, what is it? Have I offended him, or what is it? He said, no. He said he understands exactly what you said. He's given me the answer. I said, what do you mean he understands? He said he understands what you said, what you asked. I said, what did he say? He said, of course he knows them. He said, they are his friends. Sometimes he goes to them, sometimes they come to him. He said, why do you think nobody else come to this place? Everybody's scared. And we continued to have an animated conversation where I was saying it, he was understanding it. He had no English. He was understanding what I was saying. And he was having to answer in Arabic to be translated back to English to me. It made the hair stand up. It was an incredible experience.
It's definitely bizarre. I mean, Richard, we're just running out of time here. We're definitely going to have to get you back
awesome.
on. And it's been
Great
an interesting conversation. We definitely have to hear more about the murals, about the underground cities, and now we know that this guy hangs out with the people, I guess, that live underground. I mean, this is interesting. I'm making it seem funny, but I mean, this guy sitting there telling you that we need to know more. So Richard Gabriel, the Giza Foundation, the site is richardgabriel.info. We'll have all the links up. Is there anything else you wanted to leave us with before we let you go?
Yes, please, Mike. There's one most important thing. We've had no time for it now. As passionate as we are, Judith and I, for all that I've been talking about, and it's a work still in progress, there is one other area that we're equally passionate about and work for. The Giza Foundation, it is for the saving of endangered animals in Egypt. It is our campaign to create a surgical equine hospital, operating hospital in Giza. We work for the animals in Egypt. And if anybody goes to the main site, they'll be able to look at the foundation site and learn all about what's going on with the animals. There's an animal, if I could put it, an animal genocide. I know the two don't go together. There is a slaughter going on at the moment with animals because of the situation over there. It is as horrendous as it could possibly ever be. I beg anybody, for all that the interest might be in the subjects we've talked about, we scratched the surface of, please never forget the animals. Look at the sites and check that out as well. Please, please.
Well, thank you very much, Richard. We'll definitely have to get you back on sometime whenever you're ready. We'll have you back. We'll get into more Egypt, and we'll definitely get into the animal issues as well. I really appreciate your time tonight.
Richard was awesome.
Richard Gabriel, richardgabriel.info. We'll have it up on the site. Thanks a lot, Richard.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for the privilege. I appreciate it very much. I'll be ready in 10 minutes, by the way.
Alrighty. You have a good day, since it's going to be a day there soon. Alrighty. Right.
Okay then.
There goes Richard, guys. We're just running out of time here. That was an interesting one, Kristan. I mean, Richard, he's been there, he's done it. I'm not going to argue with the guy. Like I said, we've had some stories here.
A lot of these people who deal with these ancient artifacts and research and archaeological sites, they all believe in a lot of this astral projection, or they've had similar experiences. And I mean, even you, Mike, when you were a kid, you believed that you had some odd experiences.
Right. Family, psychic abilities, aliens. So, I mean, I'm not the only weirdo here, guys. We got professionals, you know what I mean? We're talking about this stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's fantastic because we all have our story and we all come from different ends.
It's not the X-Files. Why shouldn't we be able to talk about it? You know what I mean? Why shouldn't Richard have a platform where he could come on and say, hey, we found this weird stuff. He's breaking it here on the Rundown Live. He's telling us about it. What are we going to say? No? You know what I mean? No, we have to look into this. We have to look into it more.
And there has to be some technology out there that has the ability to do what he's saying. It doesn't sound too illogical. It sounds
it sounded exactly like with everything we talk about.
The process that would be taken to do it. So
I mean, it's definitely bizarre. Kristan, we're running out of time. Make sure you guys check out the sponsors, private internet access on the site. Don't think Hardcore Harry's going to be live next, but you can hang out. TruthBroadcastNetwork.com is the home. Corey Washington's usually on after Hardcore Harry, but he just had his baby daughter, so you guys are probably just had it with us. I'm thinking about doing a live show tomorrow after Mark Howitt. If you guys want to hang out on Saturday with me and Mark, maybe if Kristan's around, we're going to hang out Saturday night and do 2 shows. So we're going to be hanging out doing the Conspiracy Wire again on Saturday. We're out of time, guys. RundownLive.com. We love you guys in the chat. All that stuff. Kristan, final words. We're going out, man.
That's about it, you guys. You guys have a good night. Stay classy. Make sure you guys share the Rundown app on your friend's cell phone. It's free for you guys. Check out the RundownLive.com and add Mike and I on Facebook. And don't forget about the Rundown Live on Facebook as well. You guys have a good night. Stay classy, Milwaukee, and stay warm.
Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Check out the RundownLive.com.